There is a moment, just one moment, that can tell you more about a person than 6 months of dating ever could. It does not happen during a candlelit dinner, or a grand gesture, or a carefully worded text message. Those moments are curated. Those moments are performed. The moment that tells you the truth happens somewhere much smaller, somewhere almost beneath notice. It happens in a coffee shop, over a $5 drink, in front of a stranger with nothing to gain from lying to you. Psychologists sometimes call this a low-stakes stressor, a small, ordinary inconvenience that carries no real consequence, and yet reveals an enormous amount about the person beside you. We call it the coffee shop test. And once you understand what it exposes, you will never watch someone order a coffee the same way again. Covert narcissism is difficult to detect for one simple reason. It is built entirely around performance. In public, a covert narcissist is often warm, attentive, generous with compliments, quick with a laugh, effortlessly charming to waitstaff, to your friends, to strangers on the street. This is not necessarily conscious deception in the way we usually imagine it. It is a deeply practiced persona, one that has been rewarded again and again with admiration. Underneath that persona sits something entirely different. An intense, often unspoken need for control. A belief, rarely stated outright, that their comfort, time, and convenience matter more than the comfort, time, and convenience of the people around them. That belief almost never surfaces during the parts of a relationship you are paying close attention to. It surfaces in the gaps, in the low-stakes moments, in the places where a person assumes no one is really watching, or where the moment feels too small to matter. That is exactly why the coffee shop works so well as a diagnostic tool. It is neutral, it is mundane, and it is almost entirely free of social pressure to perform. Here is how the test unfolds, and you have likely witnessed a version of it yourself without ever naming what you were seeing. Two people walk into a coffee shop. The order is simple, and then a common, human, entirely forgivable mistake happens. The wrong milk, a name spelled incorrectly, a drink that comes out slightly different than what was asked for. This is the inconvenience. It costs nothing. It delays nothing more than a minute or two. It is, by any reasonable measure, nothing at all. And yet, watch closely because this is where the mask begins to shift. The charming, easygoing person from 5 minutes earlier suddenly goes rigid. The warmth drains out of their posture. Their voice, which moments ago was light and inviting, drops into something colder, flatter, more formal. Not loud, rarely loud. Covert narcissism is quiet by design, but unmistakably different. Watch the face in particular. There is a specific expression worth learning to recognize. A brief tightening around the mouth, a flattening of the eyes, a flash of something that looks remarkably like contempt. It appears for less than a second, and then it is gone, smoothed back over almost immediately. But it was there, and it told you something true. What you are actually watching in that moment is not frustration over a coffee order. It is a hierarchy revealing itself. Underneath the charm, many covert narcissists carry a quiet, deeply held belief that their time is simply worth more than the time of the person serving them. This is rarely something they would say out loud, and many would deny it if asked directly. But belief systems do not need to be spoken to govern behavior. They simply need to be acted upon when the stakes are low enough that no one expects to be held accountable. Notice, too, what does not happen in this moment. There is no grace extended. No easy shrug, no gentle "it happens, do not worry about it." Psychologists sometimes call this missing piece prosocial repair. The small, generous gestures that smooth over an ordinary human error and put another person at ease. Warm, secure people offer prosocial repair almost automatically. It costs them nothing, and it is instinctive. A covert narcissist, in this specific moment, often cannot access it. Because offering grace would require seeing the barista as a full equal, deserving of patience. And in that instant, stripped of the audience they usually perform for, that equality briefly disappears. Now come the words. Because covert narcissists are rarely comfortable simply being cold, they need the coldness to be justified, and they need you to agree that it was justified. Listen for the reframe. I am not being difficult, I just have high standards. I am not rude. I simply expect things to be done properly. The behavior gets repackaged almost instantly into a virtue. Perfectionism, discernment, a refusal to settle for less than what was promised. And then, watch for the recruitment. This is one of the most important red flags in the entire test, and one of the easiest to miss because it feels so natural in the moment. They will turn to you, not to check in on how you are feeling, but to enlist you. Can you believe that? Honestly, how hard is it to get a simple order right? They are not asking a question. They are extending an invitation to join them in their frustration and quietly measuring whether you accept it. If you laugh along, if you nod, if you agree just to keep the peace, take note of how automatic that felt. And take note, too, of what happens on the rare occasion you do not. A raised eyebrow, a flicker of surprise, a subtle testing of whether you are still a reliable ally or whether you have just become a problem to be managed as well. Here is the part that matters most, and the part that is easiest to dismiss in the moment. This is not really about coffee. A $5 drink, made incorrectly by a stranger who will forget the interaction within the hour, is about as low stakes as conflict gets. And how a person handles the lowest stakes moment available to them is one of the most reliable predictors of how they will eventually handle the highest stakes moments in your life together. A missed flight, a financial mistake, a genuine crisis neither of you saw coming. If entitlement and contempt surface over a wrong milk order, ask yourself honestly what happens when the mistake is larger. When it is your mistake, when there is no barista standing between the two of you to absorb the coldness, and it is simply directed at you instead. This is why documenting these micro-moments matters, especially early on, before deeper emotional or financial investment makes clarity so much harder to access. Write it down, not to build a case, but to build a record you can return to on the days your own memory gets talked out of what you witnessed. Before you go, it is worth knowing what the opposite of this looks like, because green flags deserve just as much attention as red ones. Watch for someone who responds to a small mistake with immediate, genuine ease. Someone who says it happens and means it. Someone who makes eye contact with service staff, uses their name, and treats the interaction as a conversation between equals. Watch for someone who does not need you to validate their irritation because they were never irritated enough for it to require managing in the first place. Someone whose warmth in public is not a performance that switches off the moment the audience shrinks to just you. Dignity, under a small inconvenience, is not a small thing. It is one of the clearest, cheapest, most accessible pieces of information you will ever get about a person, and it is available to you in the very first weeks if you know to look for it. If you have ever watched someone you loved shift in a moment like this, and quietly told yourself it was nothing, I want you to know that noticing it was not overreacting. It was pattern recognition, and pattern recognition is a skill, not a flaw. In the next Decode, we are going deeper into what happens after moments like this compound over time, how small instances of being recruited as an ally slowly rewire what you consider normal, and why so many people cannot recall exactly when the shift began. If this video helped you name something you had not been able to name before, make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss what comes next. And if you know someone who needs to see this, send it to them. Take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next one.